I got just a special guest here on the Academy of Change podcast. This is husband, father, former rival on the baseball diamond, current friend, also former teammate on the baseball diamond. We
Can't forget
played
that.
for a year,
More of a
exactly.
teammate than a rival.
And the host of the Bauer podcast, my friend, Mitch Bauer. What's going on, brother?
Not a lot. Just living life. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on. I'm excited to just kind of chat with you on different things. On this podcast, I don't necessarily 100% know where I want to go with it yet. This is I think this will be episode 6. And so I started out, I'm like, it's going to be all about transformation, growth. And, I just kind of want to start there with you, man. I know like when we talked on your podcast, I was on your podcast, what was that? A year ago, maybe something like that.
Something like that.
Last summer, I think maybe I was on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely last summer. It was like a Friday afternoon, kind of like right now.
Basically, we had talked a lot about like growth after that. I know we were chatting for like an hour after that about kind of you're in the investment game, like you have some properties, you have your podcast, and I know that that's something you really like doing, like talking with people, getting people's stories out. And I'd love for you to chat about just like your journey of growth since we played baseball, since college, all that stuff.
Man, that's pretty loaded, I guess. There's kind of a lot in there, but obviously coming off of baseball, I had no work experience coming out of college. So like I didn't really know what the business world at all was, but I had a job, right? And then you start to kind of figure out your job, and then you kind of start to understand business. And then, what I kind of realized is that if you're not spending the money that you're making, it's probably you're losing, or, it's just sitting there, not doing anything, not growing. I don't know. That probably doesn't really make sense, but I'm kind of going off and I don't really know where I'm going here because that was such like an open-ended question. It's like, I don't know how you want me to answer that.
However you want. And I think that's good. Like a good place to start though is like, digging into that, right? Like I think what you're saying, right, is like that if you're not investing in something or yourself or whatever, like
right,
you're kind of dying in a sense.
And I don't want it to be like, oh, you got to spend money to make it. But it's kind of true. And like once I got my job after college, I kind of realized that, man, like we're young, you got to inherit a lot of risk. As much risk as you possibly can. Otherwise, you're just going to kind of coast. And I kind of have just, I kind of have like an expensive personality. Just like I like nicer things. I like, I'm quality over quantity. I'm not the Walmart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to build a fence, I'm going to build it with better material, not like wood. I'd use like a composite or a vinyl, something that's going to last longer and that I don't have to like keep up. But I've had so much change since college. Like I started a family, I got married. So it's not like just a job, but yes, like I've started investing in real estate. I started investing in myself via like podcast, which, the podcast currently makes $0.00 per year, which is okay. And I have no intention of trying to monetize it via advertising on my podcast. It's more, I'll do something down the line. Like I think we're going to come out with some merch at some point, and kind of go that route. But I feel like, I don't know, where I've seen or noticed the most growth in myself and personally is starting a family. It's the hardest, most difficult, mental bearing thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like all these other things that I do, family, raising children is by far the hardest. Like buying a house is kind of nerve-wracking, but it's really not. All you're doing is signing a bunch of papers and, giving someone a check, and then you cross your fingers and hope it works. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter if it works or if it doesn't, because you're still always going to have your family. And that's like why you do that stuff, right? You buy it so that you can support your family. You buy it so that your kids, can see that it takes effort, it takes risk, it takes, a lot of different things to grow as a businessman or just in life, I guess. I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent there, so feel free to interrupt me.
No, that's good, man. I think that's really cool. So you're big like driving thing that drives you to be your best and to grow the podcast or to even sounds like just to get the message out there, right? Like just to kind of get the message.
Yeah, and with the podcast, like I'm in kind of like a limbo right now where I'm off social media, so I'm not posting the podcast, so I'm getting no exposure. It's really just the people who listen on a weekly basis. And then if I have an interesting guest, I know that people are, sharing it around via text, or I don't know if they're sharing it on social media or what, but you can obviously tell when, some episodes get more listens, some don't. But I haven't been on social media in probably 4 or 5 months now, because my New Year's resolution was to get under an hour of screen time each week. The lowest I've gotten is an hour and 30 minutes.
It's fucking good, dude.
It's tough, dude.
Per week?
Per week. Under an hour.
Holy shit, dude. Well, that's cool, first off, but like, how are you going about that? And that's just phone screen time, right? Like
phone screen time. Yeah, I'm not talking computers, because obviously I got to do my job, which is 8 hours a day on a computer.
You got enough screen time as it is.
Got enough screen time as it is, yes.
So you basically park that phone and you're like, I will shoot a text back to people. Are you like shooting text as quick as possible and then like locking your phone so that you can...
No, it's not like that. It is what it is. I'm pretty chill with it, I would say. It's just more like having that subconscious in the back of your mind just saying like, maybe don't go on YouTube, maybe don't click the Facebook, maybe do something else. There's a picture that's been sitting on the ground that you should maybe hang. The water on the grass the grass could probably use some watering. There's always something else to do. We waste so much time on our cell phones. So much time just sitting there scrolling. And I'm a huge advocate. I really think that it's ruining our brains, because these algorithms are so smart. And I sound like a conspiracy theorist, I know that, but these algorithms are so smart. They know you better than you know yourself.
That's crazy.
And it's scary.
That's why I delete TikTok every time I post.
It's a black hole. That's smart that you do that, because like you're kind of the same way. I know you're not like super scrolly, but you post a lot because it's part of your job.
I can be scrolly.
You can be scroll happy.
I would love, like, I try my best to not do it, because like you, I'm on screens all day anyway. On my computer doing shit. I try to post a few times a day. I have an email list that I send out to like 2 to 5 times a week. And so like I'm doing that stuff, but man, like I admire the goal of minimizing the screen time. That is, haven't hit it yet. And this last week, I think I was at 2 hours and 30 minutes. So it's, it's been kind of volatile, going up and down. The week before, I think it was 3 hours.
And yeah, like I said, I had 2 weeks in a row where I was an hour and a half and then an hour and 40 minutes. And I was like, gosh, I'm so close. And then it skyrocketed up. I think I watched like Netflix or something on my phone, which just screws you. But even like TV, like if you're sitting on a computer all day and then you go home and you're scrolling or you're watching TV, it's like your whole life is spent looking at a screen.
Yeah. It's crazy, man.
How boring is that? Is that how you want to live? Like you want to live just through other people's lives or through these screens that, yes, they have their benefits and yes, they're like, they can be a positive thing, but I think the overall mental wear that it gives us outweighs the benefits.
Yeah.
I think a lot of anxiety comes from it. I think a lot of depression comes from it because Instagram's the perfect example. Like Instagram's probably the most addicting social media out there, right? Because it's a highlight reel. And that's what you see are just the best. Everybody's best. And that's great. It's good to have those highs. And it's good to show people those highs. But at the end of the day, someone could be having like a terrible day and then they go onto Instagram and they see all these highs and then your brain automatically starts comparing. And you're like, look at all these people. They're so happy. They're all smiling. Oh my gosh, their lives are perfect. What am I doing? I'm just sitting here in my basement, not doing anything. And then depression kicks in and then anxiety kicks in and then it's like this cyclical effect and then you get addicted and you continue to scroll because you continue to try and find happiness in the scroll and it's not there.
And then the dopamine, like the fact that, it's just dopamine hits, and also it's a distraction from your life. It's a distraction from really you getting to know yourself better, right? Because you're not going to learn more about yourself. And I've been huge on that side of things for myself, like overcoming myself, getting better, and trying to do more meditation and breath work. And I actually don't even walk with headphones in anymore. Like I walk and just think about life. And sometimes I'll record content, but I'll think about life. I'll try to be creative and think about ideas. I'll think about problems. Like if I'm going through stuff, I'll just kind of reflect inward and try to dig into the root of the problems. And I think that space away from the phones and the space away from screens and away even from other people can be a huge thing to do that. Cause that's what I've realized with myself is I'm definitely not good with my screen time and I'd love to get better. And this is almost like a reminder for myself, hey, you can do a lot better with this. Cause I get sucked into Netflix too. I've been watching Suits and that shit. I don't know if you've ever realized this, have you ever watched a show so much that you feel like your life is that show? You start to think in terms of the characters in the show. You dream about the show. Have you ever had that happen to you?
I don't know if I've had that exactly, but probably something similar where you start to kind of act like a character that you like, or you kind of start to say things that they say, or because you kind of look up to them, right? You're like, oh, that's a cool character, or they're funny. I want to be funny.
Well, think anything. You talk about the subconscious a little bit earlier. Everything can get wired in. If you watch, I've watched The Office 10, 15 times through.
It's an amazing show. Shout out to The Office.
It's good. It's good. Shout out Office. Shout out Michael Scott, Dwight. But I realized at a certain point, my mind thought in terms of Office quotes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was
totally.
Everything would remind me of a quote, and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of when Michael did this fucking dumbass shit. You know what I mean? And I that works with good shit though too, right? Because that's mindless, stupid, maybe to get to laugh, right?
Right.
Which is cool sometimes. But I do that with books now. And I'll do that with podcasts where I'll read books like 3, 5 times through if it's a really good book, and I'll
Wow.
wire it in to my subconscious. Or I'll do it with a really good podcast, and I'm like, oh, this is pure gold. I'll listen to it 3, 4, 5 times straight and just wire in that information, because I've realized that it works with the stuff that doesn't matter. And so it's going to work with the stuff that actually is going to matter and move me forward.
Genius.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the one who came up with that idea, but I think I got it from Alex Ramosi. Do you know Alex
Alex
Ramosi?
Ramosi. No, never heard of him.
Oh yeah, he's in like, he grew like a gym business. Like Jim
Okay.
launched his initial business where they would go and help basically gyms like launch and have this. They had this formula to help gyms basically grow and make a shitload of money. And then he sold a bunch of different businesses, and now they acquire companies. And so they have like an acquisition where they help companies go from like, I think like 1 to 3 million to like 10 to 100 million. Like that's what they help these companies basically figure out why they're not growing and help them get to where they want to be. But he has some books around, like he's just a genius. Like he provides probably more value on social media than anybody I've ever seen. Like his free stuff is better than 99.9% of people's paid stuff.
What makes it so good?
He gives all the secrets, and he just has like such simple tactics. It's just, I think it's the way he like simplifies things, right? It makes so much sense when he talks about stuff. But he talks about like, sales. He's a big sales guy. Lead gen, like kind of everything around business, because he's in the whole space of having to, or just being really good at all that stuff. And so
That stuff is so crazy. Like the guys that are just giving sales advice,
Oh yeah,
and they're just, this is how you do it. I mean, and sales is such a personality thing. Like you got to be willing to be yourself all the time,
no, for sure.
because people can sniff out things that are not genuine. So if you're ingenuous, you're going to suck at sales. It's about being kind and being genuine.
And fucking believing in the product, right? Like I think that's the number one thing. Like if you are selling something you don't like, you're gonna suck at sales.
Right.
But no, I think that's so true. Like you have to be a good person and you got to be genuine. Otherwise, we can subconsciously, going back to that, like we can subconsciously like pick out that stuff. It's like, oh, something's not right here, right? Or like you kind of just don't go in a direction just because I think that our gut tells us this person's a little shady, or like do you ever have the people where you're like, I don't know why, but I just do not like this person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's something about this person. They haven't done anything bad to me, but it's like there's something about this person that rubs me the wrong way.
And I definitely agree with that, because you can feel people's energy pretty heavy. But I think to counter that, like you feel those vibes and you're like, what's going on? What's off about this guy? But one thing that I try to do is see the best I try and pick out the best before I start to look at the worst, and be like, I want to understand why I would like this person instead of, why do I get these weird feelings? Because I think you can get that from anybody. Like you find someone on a bad day and it's like they're just giving off weird vibes, and that's okay. It's probably because they're dealing with some shit. Probably some shit they don't want to talk about. So they're really internalizing it, and you're like, we as humans, we got to check our own vibe. Like we might get some off vibes from people, but check yourself before you check someone else.
Yeah, man.
You can control your vibe. You can't control someone else's. So if someone else is off, try and, help them.
Love it, dude.
Maybe that was stupid.
No, that's good. You're a good dude. That's what you just said there. You're trying to help people. And dude, I love that though, because I've been huge on, so you said you can control your vibe. I've been huge on recently, like how much happiness, joy, your state of choice.
Yes.
And when we all think that we have to do, like for my whole life, I'm like, oh, I gotta get this body that people respect.
Right.
Or I gotta get the money because then I'll be able to feel good about myself. Or
Not
I
gonna
gotta
work.
get more friends because or people got to like me. Otherwise, then I'm not going to like myself. Right. And like all this stuff is just bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
Choose today to just be like, I'm going to just not let other shit affect me. And it's not easy to do that, I don't think. But it's like I've been working on it. But it is also, you do it long enough and then it becomes easy, right? It's like it's getting past that, get that ball rolling for 2 weeks and be like, you know what, I'm not going to let Susie affect my happiness because she's a downer, or I'm not going to let something bad that happens in my life, even something like a death in the family, right? Like people have like a death and you like feel that, right? Like grieve, whatever, but you don't have to necessarily allow that to affect 2 months of your life, right? Like you can still live a happy life and still be fulfilled and still be joyful and still like be a light in the world, even in the midst of bad things that happen. It's difficult to take that first step because I think people feel so much resistance towards it because we've lived this life thinking that we need that validation from everything, or that there's external things that we need to do to create happiness inside of ourselves, or to love ourselves, or to believe in ourselves. Like we need these things to happen for that to, it's almost conditional, right? We conditionally love ourselves and we conditionally think that we have happiness that way, when it should be unconditional. If you're unconditionally happy and you unconditionally love yourself, I feel like good shit that you want to happen, that you think you need to happen to create that, is going to happen.
Absolutely. And that's like pertinent. Is that a word? Pertinent? That pertains? Pertains is a word. Is pertinent?
Yeah. I'm not a grammar expert.
Okay.
We'll say it is. Today it is.
It pertains so much to marriage. 50% of marriages end. Why do 50% of marriages end? I personally think, my opinion, a lot of them end because they rely on each other for happiness instead of relying on themselves. Like, if I'm constantly leaning on you for my own happiness, that's one, going to be super draining on you. And two, for me, it's going to be just like, I'm going to go crazy because I'm going to be, where are you all the time? Or what are you doing? Or why aren't you making me happy? Or like, and then that's going to drain you. And you're going to be like, now I just constantly have to make this person happy and happy. And it's like, if you can't find it within yourself, your marriage is never going to last. Because, you put all your weight on someone for so long, eventually you're going to fall. You can only hold someone up for so long. And like I said, that's why 50% of marriages end. There's probably a lot of other reasons, obviously, like cheating and probably like gambling problems and probably just, like, I guess, abuse. There's a ton of reasons that marriages end, but I think a root cause of even all that other stuff that I just mentioned, like some of it roots back to leaning on the other person for your happiness.
You see a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but you see people who they're always that person that's always in a relationship, right? It's kind of like they're always leaning on somebody. They always need somebody because it's difficult to be with yourself, right? It takes, some struggles to be with yourself, but I think that's where the real gold is you'll learn to do that, and then you'll learn more about yourself, talking about that self-awareness piece, and you start to be able to like heal some of the shit that maybe you don't want to do. Because I think that's what maybe a big reason why people don't want to sit with themselves and they don't want to be with themselves is because the shit starts to come up, right? You get these thoughts. Like I've been
the demons.
The last few weeks. Oh, exactly.
And then you're just like, oh man, why would I say that stupid thing in that context at that certain time that really nobody cares about, but you're just diving deeper and deeper and deeper, and you're just like, why would I say that thing in 5th grade? Or why would I fart in class? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just think about this stupid stuff and it runs over and over and over, and nobody else is thinking about it besides yourself.
Because everybody wants to think about themselves, right?
Yeah. It's nature.
Oh, yeah. Are you a book reader?
No, I can't read. I'm like dyslexic. No, I can a little bit. I'm just a bad reader.
So you're an audiobook guy. If you were a book guy, you'd be an audiobook guy.
If I were to read, yeah, I'd be an audiobook. I just like my mind when I'm reading. One, I get really tired really fast. I also struggle with like internalizing what I'm reading or indulging what I'm reading. So I don't know. I learn from actually doing things, not reading it and then trying to do it. It's like I gotta do it and then read about it. I gotta
throw yourself in the fire.
Throw myself in the fire and figure it out. But what book were you going to talk about? Sorry.
I was just, I guess I probably talked about this on 3 podcasts already, but The Untethered Soul is the book I'm reading right now. And it talks a lot about your thoughts and emotions and how we buy into them. Like we buy into everything we think, everything we feel, when really like that's not us. Like we're aware of those things. It's almost like energy moving through, right? That we catch and we think, because I've had these things in the past where just all the time. I mean, like I'm sure everybody deals with this, where you think of like the worst case scenario. Like I'm on my deck and I think about a bear coming through and fucking attacking my dog or something. You know what I mean? Like and I'm
well, you never know an outing.
What the fuck? I mean,
it could happen.
But still, like that's like it's if you buy into that, you're like, why am I thinking about this? Whatever. Then you're gonna go crazy. But if you just understand that, like that's just a thought. That's just something that came through. That happens. I don't have to buy into it. That's not me. Then you can kind of step away and like relax and be able to move forward. But if we always buy into those thoughts and then I always like, I allow that for me to feel a certain way because of that. And then I buy into that feeling. And then all of a sudden my day's shitty because of it. Like it's going to be a pretty fucking poor life.
Part of that example is parental instinct too. And it's not an actual kid, but it's a dog. But at the same time, when you're a parent, you see the danger in everything. It's crazy. You're just walking. Kid couldn't be doing anything wrong. You see a light pole. You're like, man, don't play too close to that light pole. I don't want it to fall on you. Or like, obviously that light pole is concreted in or whatever it is. Like, don't play too close to the weed. You're going to poke yourself. But at the end of the day, like, you kind of got to let the kid poke himself because that's how you learn.
Hot stove.
What do you mean hot stove?
You put your hand on the hot stove and then you learn that you probably shouldn't put your hand on the hot stove anymore.
My kid burned his hands on our fireplace.
Really?
Yeah. Burned both of his hands. I hope not. He did it when he was like a year old or something.
Oh.
He was really young.
Maybe he didn't remember it.
Might not remember it. But he's still, like, everything he sees that's hot, he always goes, that's hot. That's hot. But parental instincts are crazy. Like, you always think your kid's going to, like, trip and fall and hit his head. And you're like, you just, as a parent, like back to kind of the growth and everything, you see like everything all at once, like it all just, it's such a weird thing and you don't really understand it until you go through it. And I think everyone kind of says that, but it couldn't be more true. And you probably won't understand it until you go through it. That's just how it is. You got some time.
I got some tick before I go through that stage, but
you want to have kids?
I do.
What's your dating life like right now?
Non-existent.
Non-existent? You're not even going on dates? There's no rumbles around outing?
I'll be quite honest with you. Not a lot of the women around here have all their teeth.
Yeah. It's like
a little bit rugged up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm moving down. I don't know if I told you this. I'm moving down to Arizona in a few months.
Wow. You were kind of choosing last time we talked between Florida and Arizona.
Yeah.
So I was like, whoa, you're talking East Coast, West Coast here, man. Yeah. It's complete opposite changes. Sides. Yeah. I want to go to the desert or I want to go to the swamp.
It is
but both are good. Both are good spots. Are you going to Scottsdale or where in Arizona?
Outside of like Scottsdale, Phoenix. I'm looking at like the north side of Phoenix.
Is that like Glendale?
Glendale, I think is like, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like northwest. I'm not 100% geography, like I don't know the geography, but I know that like the north side is like they're like Scottsdale kind of running down here, and then
Yeah, it doesn't
kind
matter.
of west of Scottsdale. It's kind
Okay.
of where I'm looking like a little bit. And so
What's the motive behind moving out of state?
there's a lot of things. So first off, I hate the winter.
Yeah.
And so
Who
it's just
doesn't?
like, yeah, I'm like, you know what? I don't have to be up here. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to try it out. Also, I really only know Minnesota. I've grown up here. I've been out like for short stints during baseball. During my baseball career, had like a little bit of time in Florida, a few months in New Jersey, those type of things. But I'm locked into my environment. And so I feel like just having that change of just a huge change in scenery is going to change my perspective. And I don't know, I'm also always trying to do stuff that's uncomfortable. I think that that's going to help me to go into a place where I don't know many people, force me to make some friends down there, force me to get outside my comfort zone a little bit more, which is a huge thing for me.
And Minnesota's always going to be here. It's not going anywhere. And like old friends, old friends are old friends for a reason, because you kind of have that deep understanding of who each other are.
Oh, exactly.
Can always reconnect.
Oh, dude. Yeah, there's always, and I mean, people want to get the fuck out of Minnesota in the
I
winter.
love Minnesota personally.
Well, in the wintertime, like a lot of people want to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I'm excited for this winter though. Dude, guess what I just purchased yesterday?
What did you purchase?
Guess. I want you to
boat.
guess. No. No, I sold my boat.
Is it a big purchase?
Which, not to be like I had a boat, I got the boat in a purchase of a property.
Okay.
So that property actually ended up flooding. So I'm dealing with a rebuild right now. We got it all the way down to the studs. It's like a complete thing. Ended up selling the boat, which is okay because boats are a hassle. You don't want to spend a ton of money and a ton of time keeping up a boat when you only use it for like 10 or 15 hours. And with young kids, you really don't use boats much. So that's why I got rid of that. I bought a sauna.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
What did you get? Like, did you get one of those like tent ones, or like what did you?
I got like a barrel sauna.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Big barrel sauna. With like the wood fire stove. It's on a trailer, so you can kind of like bring it places. I'm going to probably keep it at my house for like 99% of the time. But yeah, I'm excited to fire that thing up.
Are you gonna use it today or this weekend or what? When you
So
gonna
I'm
give it
kind
the first run?
of getting it all ready. I'm getting like the vibe set, right? So I'm hanging lights. I'm stringing lights across the trees. I want to get some of those tiki torches so that bugs around it. You're not going in and out of the sauna and you're getting bit by mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And then I kind of want it to be like a little sauna village in my front yard, because I just built a fence too in my front yard. Last time you were at my house, I probably had those trees across the front yard, which all died. Shout out to Home Depot. They ended up giving me the money back for all the trees that died. And then I built a fence. And now that we have the fence, we're a little more secluded from the busy county road that we're on. And yeah, so I just popped the sauna. Found a sauna that I really liked. I've been looking for a sauna for, probably close to a year. And then this one was just right time, right place, right deal, right person to go into business with. So it all the stars aligned.
I love it, dude. How
Yeah.
many people can fit in it?
A lot. Like probably, if you really jammed, you could probably get like 12. You probably wouldn't really, you'd be shoulder to shoulder. And in saunas, you kind of want to be relaxed and comfortably 8 is what I would say. 4 person on each bench. But it's got this big glass window that I have pointing at our woods. So, and then it's like the stove, the wood burning stove. So you get the crackle of the fire, and then you're can look into the woods. And if other people show up to this little sauna village, you can see them coming in and wave. It's a cool little It's a cool little thing. Shout out to Luis Leonardo. He's the one that hooked me up with it.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, he's the owner of that Embrace North. Have you ever heard of that? Or it used to be Embrace North. I think Embrace North ended up, something happened with them. I don't exactly know what it was, but he has
Embrace North.
He's got a gym in, I think it's Arden Hills.
Okay.
He does all that cold exposure and sauna, and they do like funky different workouts. It's a pretty cool place.
That's awesome, dude.
I don't know what it's called now, though. I'd love to give him some clout, but don't have any.
I love saunas, man. Those things are the best.
I know. You got to come over and sweat.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're going to be gone in the winter. So maybe before you go, like in the fall, you know, when it starts to get cold.
Like September.
Do some cold tubs.
Yeah. Do you have a cold tub too?
I'm trying to find one.
So you can pop into the tub and then go back.
Cold,
sauna, kind of
hot, cold, shock the body a little bit.
It's good shit, man. Then with those wood burning ones too, you can get those hot as fuck.
Oh yeah.
You can burn those things up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. And the stove that I got, it's called a Hoom stove. So it's like this small wood burning stove, and then it's completely surrounded by rocks. And the rocks are what gets really hot, right? And then you put the water on the rocks, and then you get all that steam. So this sucker gets hot. Yeah, and I've only used it once.
So you've already used it?
I used it because my friend rented it before his wedding. The morning of his wedding, my friend rented it. And then they told him, you know, if anyone that uses it is interested in buying it, tell them to reach out. And I was, you know, in the sauna, I was like, this thing is kick ass. And then I reached out, told them that I was interested, and made a deal.
Do you want to do that with the sauna? Like try to use it as a business as well, or you just want to use it as your own?
No, I don't want to use it as a business. Not as of now. I mean, it's like, I guess, what do you consider a business, right? Like I want to do something where it's like sauna Saturdays or sauna Sundays where, you know, I kind of keep it open to friends and family to come over, and we're going to be saunaing at 8 p.m. on Saturdays or 8 p.m. on Sunday nights, and come on over. If you can't make it, you can't make it. If you can, you can. But we'll be here, you know, every other Sunday or something. I'm just trying to kind of iron out the details, which day's best. But, you know, kind of building that community and just opening it up.
That's awesome.
Come hang out at my sauna village.
Dude, it's so chill too. Like I've had so many good conversations in the sauna, like at a gym.
The best
I feel like
conversation.
it's a great spot, like because the lights are generally dimmed.
You're so distracted too. Yeah, you're so distracted by like how hot you are that things just start to pour out of you. Like, and people can get so vulnerable in saunas because you're just like, oh my God, it's so hot in here.
But I'm curious, man. I know, like, you had talked about last time about your podcast, so Bauer Hour podcast.
Yep.
For anybody out there who wants
Shout
to go
out.
check it out. Shout out. You have your quarter hour with the Bauers for you and your wife.
Yeah,
chat.
that's on the Bauer Hour.
Yeah.
AQHWB. Quarter hour with the Bauers. Yeah. TB, I think. Yeah.
And so for anybody out there, check that out. But I know that you had talked about last time that you have like aspirations of maybe like trying to do like some sort of talk show. Like you'd love to kind of get to that point. Is that still the goal, or is that like where do you want to go with everything? And
it is kind of a talk show already. Obviously, it's a podcast,
yeah.
Talk show, kind of same thing. And I did, my wife and I did some stuff on YouTube for a little bit. We were posting it, but right now the podcast isn't like, you know, my number one priority. It falls pretty short on the priority list. It's something that I love doing, that I'm going to continue to do, but it's not something that I'm focused on, like really growing at this moment. It's more, a great excuse for me to get together with my friends and just dive a little bit deeper. Because for some reason, when you turn the mics on, you can dive a little deeper. I don't know what it is, but there's something magical about it. It's kind of cool. And like I said, as a family guy or a family guy, sure. You don't really get that many excuses to hang out with your friends or to get together with people because you're pretty busy, especially with a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old. Like, I'm busy with the kids. So having that excuse to hang out, I think is pretty cool. And you need that separation too. You need that. You need to get away from the family, because if you're all family, I mean, then it kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it gets mundane, but you need to separate. It's just like marriage. You need to separate from each other. You need to have hobbies outside of each other that you both enjoy, that you can go be with other people, indulge with other people, and then come back. And then you got something to talk about rather than just who's doing the laundry or who's cleaning the house or, just the plethora of different things.
That's awesome, dude. What do you think then? Like, what's number one on your priority list other than your family? Like, what, you said podcast relatively low. Like, what's number one?
I mean, number one, I guess you could put like faith. Right. And I'm not like a super religious guy, but I think that should always be at the top of anyone's priority list, whether you believe in something or not. Just having faith in humanity, faith in a higher power, faith in whatever it is, just keeping faith, because faith also creates happiness.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you're pretty faithful, like you're hoping for the best, you're seeing the best, you're striving for the best, a lot of times that's going to bring out the best in you.
I love it, dude. I think that's good.
So yeah, I'd probably say that. I don't know. Is that a generic answer? Is that too generic? Do you want me to say like, because then I could say, a job, right? But I don't want to say my job. Health, fitness. I mean, I've been really kicking it into gear on the fitness train. Trying to, at least.
What are you doing there outside of the sauna and cold stuff?
Well, I haven't really started doing the sauna and cold stuff on a regular basis, but I'm working out 5 times a week probably. If not, if you count like walking around, doing yard work and everything, probably 6 or 7 times a week. Just doing a lot, moving my body, trying to stay healthy. And trying to stay in good shape. That's so important as we get older. Like us being 29, we're at a point where we can fall off the table and really like abuse our bodies, or you can continue to stay fit.
And it's a lot easier to stay fit or to do it now as opposed to having to get in shape, right? Like that whole thing is, God, it's crazy. And I had somebody say this is actually a coach of mine say this to me the other week. He's talking about how, because I've been big into like spirituality recently.
Spirituality, like as in, what do you mean by that?
Just, some people could call it like religion, right? Like just like kind of,
okay.
Believing, kind of like your faith, right? It's almost like faith in a higher power, faith in the universe, faith in God, whatever you believe out there. And so I wrote something like on your thing on faith. Like I actually wrote something in my journal the other day around like everything in life is conspiring to move you towards where you're supposed to be. And I think that's like almost the definition of it, right? It's like faith. Like if you believe that, then you can kind of find the good in different situations. And like I heard something else on that too, where I think it was Jamie Kern Lima. She's somebody who built like, I forgot what company she built, a huge $1 billion company that she sold to, I don't know. But either way, she's really big in like the personal development space now and like a big speaker and stuff like that. And she was on Ed Milet's podcast, which is my favorite podcast out there. And she was talking about how like rejection is God's protection. And so like for anybody, obviously replace God with whatever you believe in higher power wise. But I think that's also like a great thing to believe as well, is like if you understand that like failure and rejection is like, maybe you weren't ready for the situation. Maybe this person wasn't supposed to be in your life, like all these different things. If you can kind of move that way, you're going to be in a pretty good spot, and things aren't going to affect you as much as if you believe that like you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
If you fail, or like, you're like, I'm just a piece of shit.
Yeah, no, that's
Actually, I don't deserve this, right? Like if you
right.
kind of believe that stuff, which I've been stuck in that cycle before, where everything is just so draining and poor me, right? Like, and I just think that it doesn't do us too much good to believe those things.
No, it doesn't do us any good at all. And self-talk is so important because like I said earlier, and I didn't mean to sound like a douche when I was talking about business stuff. I just didn't really know what to talk about, to be honest, at first. So I was like kind of fumbling around. But I'm very risk adverse. Very risk adverse. I inherit a lot of risk, which I think is okay. I have no idea. I guess we'll see in 20 years. Shit, where was I going with that? Why did I lose my train of thought?
So you like, let me ask you then, while you think about that, what were you always that way? Because that to me that kind of sounds like you're not a guy who needs a lot of certainty in the moment. Like you're not afraid
No,
of the unknown.
that's where I was
right?
going.
Like,
Perfect. Living in the moment and being like continuing to tell yourself that, see, I go off on these tangents and then I forget what my root is. But what I was getting at was knowing that you're not done today. You live to see another day. Be where your feet are. Don't worry about 25 years down the road. No one can predict the future. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try. If it doesn't work, doesn't work. At the end of the day, as long as it doesn't kill me, I think I'll be all right. Like, we'll figure it out. There's so many different avenues you can go down and different ways to solve problems. Thank you for helping me there. That was a great assist, Alex.
no, 100%. I'm always here for you. I'm always here for you. And I feel like this leads to a good topic of like, what's your view on death? Like I know that like that's a deep thing, but like I am huge on this topic. I don't
Really?
think enough people talk about it.
Well, talk to
think
me
it's
about
like
your
huge.
view, and then I'll kind of spew my opinion on you.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about like what happens after.
No,
like
I know.
more or less like like talking about like mortality and how important it is to recognize that like you could literally die tomorrow, right? Like I
Right.
think that that's something that people believe they're going to be here forever. Right? They feel like everybody else is going to go, and then they take terrible care of their body and their life, and they have a really bad relationship with themselves, which I'm not trying to harp on anybody because I've definitely been in those situations myself, and that's been a huge part of my story, is just constantly trying to get better and grow and transform and like get a better relationship with myself. But I've come to realize, just especially over the last like 3-4 months, like just how the frame of death and the frame of that we don't necessarily have like a long period of time on this earth can create action and can help, I think, create on like being fine with the unknown and uncertainty, because it's crazy. Just if we don't get uncomfortable, we're not going to ever get anywhere, right? Like it's like everything that comes is like, I guess you can get somewhere, but it's going to be very slow, as opposed to if you decide to get a little bit uncomfortable, then you expand that comfort zone. And then if you do it again and you kind of get into that area of like, oh, I'm feeling a lot of resistance, I'm feeling a lot of that you kind of maybe your body tightens a little bit, you're like, this is a little bit scary. If you kind of can hang out there long enough, then you can move forward. But I don't think that enough people talk about the topic of just, we're not necessarily here for a long time. And I was in that book that I was talking about, The Untethered Soul. He talks about how like you tell somebody they have a week left, they're going to live their life a completely different way than they are right now. Right? They're going to start like really appreciating the little things, and they're going to start actually like doing things that really light them up inside. But when somebody thinks they have 50 years left, they kind of just sit around and like sleepwalk through life and don't really do anything that they want to, and they don't really like take any risks, or they don't really try to start that business that they really want to start, and they don't go on the trip that they've been wanting to go on for 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of, people stay stuck in their own ways, and so that's my view on it. What do you think?
Live to see another day. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I preach this and I've said this multiple times, I feel like, on my podcast. Like, stress and anxiety comes from what you've done in the past, or mistakes that you've made in the past, or what's to come in the future, the unknown of the future. Man, is my 401k really going to be okay when I'm 59 and a half? It's like, who gives a shit about that stuff, right? Like, who cares about when you're 59 and a half? What matters is where you currently are all the time. That's the only thing that should matter. And that's why it's like, that's the same with our phones. It's, you're constantly living in the past and you're constantly living in the future. And if you can just indulge yourself with where you're at all times, and have a little bit of what I call practiced aloofness, like, you see everything and be aware of everything's going on, but some things you just got to ignore. And that's like kind of where we were talking about, like, the bad vibes that you get from people. And it's like, you kind of just, some people just rub you the wrong way pretty quick. And I think, like, practiced aloofness is just kind of like, don't tell yourself that. If you're constantly telling yourself, like, oh, I'm getting bad vibes, or, if you just ignore it and you're just like, oh, that's over my head, I don't really care, you're probably just, it's actually going to go over your head and you're not really going to care and you're not going to focus on that. But death in itself, to me, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Like, if I die, I die. It is what it is. I went paragliding in Colombia probably 2 months ago, and I thought I was going to die. Not going to lie. Paragliding, do you know what paragliding is?
Like parasailing, or like where you have like
kind of like parasailing. Paragliding is where you just send it off.
Thing, like where you're holding on to the, and like you're on your stomach as opposed
kind of, but you're strapped in and you're sitting down and you got a guy on your back, but you just send it off a cliff. So we're in Colombia, and these guys give us no information. They just say, run as fast as you can, and once you're off the cliff, continue to run. Do not stop running. That's all they told us. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? They kind of tighten your straps. It still feels a little loose. You got a guy who's like 100 pounds strapped to you. Looks like he's 19 years old. I'm like, all right, this is not that chill. So I just send it off this cliff, and you kind of like sit down. He's pulling you back, and he starts tightening your straps as I'm in the air. And I'm like, shouldn't these have already been tightened? Like, why are we tightening these again? And I'm not like afraid of heights by any means, but when I'm in a foreign country with my family, thousands and thousands of miles away, and I'm hanging out thousands of feet above the ground, I get a little freaked out for sure. And the day that we went paragliding, it was warm, and you need hot pockets. So you're supposed to go off and then land back where you went off, right? So you kind of go, and then you paraglide around for a little bit, and then you find a hot pocket, and it kind of brings you back up the mountain, which then you can land where you went off.
Do you have a parachute?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. That's at least like encouraging.
Yes, definitely encouraging. You're not just sending it off a mountain without a parachute. So the first couple guys go off, and it cools down because rain's coming. So there's no hot pockets for them to get back up the mountain. So there's like probably 20 to 40 parasailers all stuck on the bottom of this mountain. And two of my friends are down there. And they're just like parasailing around, trying to find a spot to land, right? And then obviously they kind of have like their backup spots to land, but then it starts raining as right after our friends land, it starts raining, and you start to be like, okay, so this is getting a little sketchier and sketchier and sketchier. And might I say again, zero information. Like, when I'm telling you zero information, I mean zero information. You sign like if you die, it's not our fault. That's it. And then they tell you to send it. So it starts raining, like, doesn't look good outside. It's raining for a while, probably an hour and a half. And the parasailers have to get cabs to get back up the mountain, right? So they can send it off again with us. And so they all come back. It's still raining. We're all under cover or whatever. And then it stops raining for a second. And they have this red flag and this green flag. Red flag obviously means don't jump. Green means you're good to go. All these parasailers get back out. We get like 7 guys strapped up. I think it's the last guys to go, right? So we just start darting it off the mountain. All of the guys that I'm with. As we're sending it off the mountain, they switch the flag to red. So we have like this 20-minute window to get to this landing spot before it starts pissing rain again. So it's like, don't jump, not safe, because you could get struck by lightning, or if it starts raining too heavy, it can probably mess up the parachute, I would think. And at the time, like when I jumped off, I didn't know that we only had this like 20-minute window. But once we landed, it just starts downpouring. And I was like, did we just get incredibly lucky? Like, we just went off this mountain. Now we landed. It just starts pouring rain. I think we just got incredibly lucky where we just had this small, tiny little window to jump. We did it. And then if we would have hesitated at all, like, death, maybe. I don't know. But these guys are crazy. They're doing flips and they're like high-fiving as they go by. And you're like, Jesus, this is sketch. But then, while I'm in the air, I'm thinking about death. Like, I'm thinking about getting on the ground. That's all I want to do. I'm like, I don't want to be up here anymore. I want to go find my wife, find my kids. There's actually, so they have GoPros on you. I have the GoPro footage of me. It's very embarrassing. I'm screaming like the entire time. Get me down. I want to get back to my wife and kids. Like, just not having fun up there. But, I'm thankful to be here today. And then, like I said, I thought about death a lot, and I think about my family, and like, if I were to die, like, it would suck to leave them alone. And then, my wife carries all the responsibility of both of our kids, which, shout out to single moms and single dads, because that's not easy at all.
No, 100%, dude. No, that's a crazy story, first off. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane. I can imagine. I probably would have the same footage. I'd probably be freaking out, dude. Like,
Dude, it's scary.
Oh, man. But yeah, dude, I think that's like, you're not guaranteed another day, but it sounds like that what really drives you to be your best and to grow and to prioritize your health and fitness and to get uncomfortable is your kids and your wife.
And you got to be strong to be a parent, man. Like, kids get heavy really quick. Like, when they come out, they're like 8 pounds or 6 pounds or whatever, and they're super light. But man, they get that 2.5, and you got to carry them for an hour on a hike or something. It takes a toll on your body. You got to be a strong person.
So you got to pump that iron.
You got to pump that iron, dude. You got to do that bench press. Do those pull-ups.
Don't just run. Pump that fucking iron.
Yeah, let's go. 100 push-ups. Give it to me.
Good shit, man.
Random question before you end us here. Do you think you could do 100 push-ups in a row for, say, $100,000?
I think I could. Does it have to, like, can I?
You could
like,
get.
what's the pre-rep?
You could get 5 8-second breaks.
5 8-second breaks. I think I could do 100 in a row with 5 8-second breaks for sure.
Have you ever tried?
What do you want me to try right now?
I mean, if you want. I wasn't gonna
No,
say you should try, but
no. I've never. No, I've done like I don't know if I've done like max push-ups too much. I know I used to be able to do at least in the 70s and 80s when it came to like I just do like I'd rip off in my heyday of like doing a lot of push-ups. How about you? You think you
for
could?
$100,000, I know I could do it. You gut that out. You tear a pec. You tear your shoulder. You know what I'm saying? That's a big payday for what would that
Very
take?
short.
15 minutes of work?
And not even. I mean, you think you could probably do that in two minutes?
2 minutes? That would be a crazy amount of time. That'd be a world record. 100 push-ups in 2 minutes?
No, I bet you.
No, you're
I bet
right,
you
'cause it's
the world
probably-
record would be like less than 100 seconds, probably.
You're probably true, actually. Man, I didn't even think about that. I was at my friend's wedding last weekend. One of the guys was, very adamant on saying there's no way you could do 100 push-ups for $100,000. I was like, dude, I think, there's a little bit more in there than you think. You get a little bit of motivation, you put a little bit of oil in the
Just if you
tank.
see like the stack, or like if like somebody's like got your, it's like I'm transferring this, like I got your things set up here. All I got to do is hit send.
Yes.
Okay, like do it up. Should we do the first ever live push-up challenge on the Academy of Change?
You should. I'd like to see how many you could do in a row. And I mean, you can always cut it if you don't like it. So
Let's see how I would do this. Yeah, I think I gotta adjust that. I don't have a lot of room in here, but
if you just point the camera down.
yeah, let me try doing this here.
Are you going to try and do 100 push-ups right now?
I'm gonna try.
Oh my gosh. So what I'll tell you right now is that I have done 100 push-ups in a row. One time. My roommate in college offered me a Twix bar for if I did the 100 push-ups.
Really?
And then after I did it, I offered him half the Twix bar if he could match the 100, and he did it. Granted, we were in college, playing baseball, probably the best shapes of our lives. And it was very hard. And the last 30 push-ups were probably question mark push-ups.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like, but I mean, shit, man.
Yeah, give us this angle. I really want to see this.
Okay, we've never done this, so I got to do about that probably.
That's perfect.
I'm kind of pointed there because I think I'll have to go about.
Yes.
Can you see?
Do you want me to count out loud or do you want me to count in my head? Probably out loud.
Probably out loud would be good.
And maybe I'll just go every 5 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you even hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it's coming through on the thing. Because the thing is, my up there is my mic, and so we'll give it a shot. I'm gonna do a few stretches here.
That's probably a good idea.
I'm not gonna tell you that what I did workout wise right before this, but
Excuses already.
there you go. Excuses are already coming. All right, let's do it. Can you see me?
Yep. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60,
I'm slowing down.
65, favorite number, 69, 70. Let's go. 30 more. You got it. You got it. 73, 73. That's really good. And I didn't even have $100,000 that I was about to transfer you.
Holy shit, man. That was tiring. I could have done, if I would have done one-off ones, I might have gotten another 10.
You still had a couple breaks though. You didn't utilize the breaks and the breaks can kind of screw you up too. I like how you just went after it. 73 push-ups in a row. That's a good.
Yeah.
I saw a clip of, I think it was Rogan did like 80 push-ups or something one time on his podcast.
Really?
Yeah. Because him and Kreischer were going back and forth about something, and Kreischer was like, I know I could do, 30 or 40 push-ups, and Rogan was like, whatever you do, I'll double it. Yeah. Then I ended up doing like 80 push-ups. How are the muscles feeling?
Feeling good.
That's pretty badass that you just dropped and hit 73 push-ups.
Had to try.
What did you do this morning now that it's all over?
I hit shoulders this morning.
Did you?
So I was like, this is probably going to be very difficult to do, but I was like, I don't want to make any excuses on why I couldn't do this. Like
the number one, best excuse you could possibly have.
Unless if I hit chest this morning, that would be like, if I hit chest this morning, that would be, I probably wouldn't even tried.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm already burning.
I'm already pumped out.
Yeah, but that's my shoulders are pumped, my chest is pumped. Man, dude.
That was incredible. What do you think? So are you going to are you going to make it make it a goal to hit 100 push-ups? Because, you got to do, at some point, there's got to be video evidence, right?
Yeah.
Now that it's out there.
Like every 5 episodes, I'll do the push-up challenge, and I'll
start it off. Yeah.
Be like, how can I get up to 100 in a row? Just kind of see how high I can bring my push-up, my single
max out.
Yeah. Just have it be a part of the Academy of Change podcast.
And that's what it is. You're changing. You're growing.
Yeah.
Academy of Change. That's a cool name.
I appreciate
the Academy of Change. It's like the school of change. Because dude, you've gone through some massive changes. Obviously, in the last 8 years or so, since college.
Since college, and it's crazy to think the last 2 years. I'd say the last 3 years have been the craziest years
since you've been sober.
So I've been sober almost 2 years and 2 months.
Okay.
And so that's a little bit more than that was kind of when my life started changing. It was a little bit earlier than that. I kind of started my business. I kind of started learning more about nutrition and fitness and stuff like that on just kind of more than I actually just knew through whatever I was listening to at the time or just my experience in sports. And so then that's when I kind of think that everything changed, because one of the reasons, other than having a problem with alcohol, I kind of realized hey, only one person can tell you if you have a problem with anything, right? It's yourself. You have to admit that you have a problem. And I was like, I think I have a problem. I'd talked to friends about it too. I'd been like, I feel like I have a problem with alcohol. I feel like this is not okay.
Healthy.
It doesn't make me feel good. And everybody told me I didn't have a problem. But
of course, because they wanted to drink with you.
Exactly. And so, but I don't put anything on anybody. That's all me. But what I realized is I realized it was a problem. It kind of got worse and worse towards the end there. But also, I realized I wanted growth. Mm-hmm. I started this, and I was like, you know what? I see a future with coaching and with helping people with something that I've struggled so heavily with. And so that's that combination of having a problem and also kind of knowing there was more out there for me is why I ended up quitting. And it's been the best decision that I made. Definitely led to a lot of growth.
That's badass, dude. It's badass. And it's not easy. Even in social settings, it's tough. to
Oh,
not
for sure.
drink, right? You just kind of got to be sober fun.
Yeah.
Suck down some waters, or a soda or whatever your choice of drink is. And no one really notices when you're not drinking. Like, I've gone a couple months without drinking, and like there's times where I won't even mention it. Like, I just won't have a beer in my hand. I'll have like a water instead of a vodka or whatever it is. Like, it's pretty easy to get away with it. You just say no a couple times and, distract it with something else, and just don't even make it a thing. Because once you make it a thing, then people are like, maybe we can get him to drink.
No, for sure. That's crazy. It was hard right away, for sure. But that was because it was a part of my life so heavily. You
Yeah.
think of just, and my family's it's always been at a big thing at every party, every like holiday and stuff like that. And so like kind of had the combination of like, it felt like that was all I did with my friends. And then also it's like this huge family thing. And so I think I made it up in my mind it was going to be this huge thing that was going to change so much, which it did. But it didn't change necessarily what I thought it was going to change as much, if that makes sense.
I just saw your brother's name on a town ball roster. Your brother's playing ball is he playing for the Millers? Or the Hopkins Berries. That's what it was.
Are you playing?
Yeah, I play for the Minneapolis Angels.
Oh.
Just had a game last night.
How are you doing? Are you just pitching?
Yeah. Doing pretty good. You have some good games, some bad games. Sometimes I get rocked. Sometimes I, do pretty good. Sometimes it's like facing UMD and you guys just, every ball you hit is off the wall. For you, I was throwing it in the dirt and you were bouncing it off the wall. And I'm like, this kid just refuses to get out.
That was just stupid.
That was so stupid. I just didn't even want to look at you in the box. I don't think any pitcher wanted to see you in the box.
That's crazy. But I mean, I kind of go back to it that like if I didn't have Comer and Jimbo, like it would have never happened.
Maybe. I mean, you probably still would have had a dynamite year. You just wouldn't have gotten as many at bats.
Yeah.
And you probably wouldn't have had that competition of like, we're continuing to hit all these bombs. Like I want to hit more. And
the collective, like the contagiousness of the hitting and stuff like that. But they had like, there were certain teams that tried to walk me, right? Like they tried to like every time first base was open, but Comer would come up and Comer lived and breathed on that shit. And so you would just annihilate him and hit one off the fence or like hit a home run anyway. And then you'd be like, that's what you fucking get. Like Comer would get all jacked up.
That's hilarious. Not like the guy that you want to see after you too. Cause he didn't hit 40 bombs, but he hit 15 or something, still hit well over 400. And then you got Heck right after him, and he's the same, he hit like 20, also hit over 400. So it's like you're walking you just to give other people RBIs.
Yeah. It was insane. And then we had in front of me was Farley, who hit close to 15 as well, which is just insane. So it was.
You guys had an insane team.
We finally got you guys because you had like you had our number every other year. Besides that, we probably got like 1 or 2 wins against you guys the first 3 years.
Well, Bo no hit us that one year at Wade. You remember that?
Oh yes.
We scored 1 run, but it was a no hitter.
Yeah,
I think it was a sophomore year.
Yeah, I forgot about that. About that.
That was your sophomore slump when you hit like 350 with 8 bombs.
I was so pissed off that year. Dude, I was honestly like I was just a bad person that year. I was so pissed off at life.
Yeah. But you still had a good year. That's the craziest part.
I know, in the grand scheme. Kind of goes to the high standards.
Yeah. Baseball's fun, dude. And there's like, do you pay attention to the MLB at all?
I look at stats here and there, but I've probably watched like 9 innings of the MLB this year.
The Twins are just terrible to watch. I mean, they're like impossible. It's just, they can't score runs. Their pitching's pretty good, but the pitch clock, I will say the pitch clock is a game changer for entertainment purposes. Baseball games are much easier to watch now because they're just grabbing the ball and they're going. And it's not like all this, cat and mouse game that you get.
Shake offs and whatever. Like, yeah, it's like get it and go.
Because pitching and hitting, like it's a cat and mouse game.
Yeah.
Like any little fidget, like I might go a half second slower on my wind up or whatever it is. It's just like these little things. And it gets so meticulous when you're at that professional level. Like it was just getting out of hand where people were just taking way too much time.
Oh, yeah. Just a regular game was 3 hours.
Did you see in the minors now, they have like they can check for balls and strikes. So if a hitter gets rung up, they can say, I want to check that. And they'll signal something to the ump and he can reverse the call.
They might as well not even have an umpire anymore.
I think you still have to have a physical umpire there to call like safe at home. And it is a part of the game. It's a part of the game to have an umpire.
The whole umpire, that's why I think that's stupid because I mean, the person aspect of it makes the game. Right. There's just some days with
the human error.
Not great. Yeah, it's part of the game. Everything's can't be perfect. Like I think that's not even that fun. If it's like you have like everything is exactly perfect and there's no human aspect to the game anymore.
But thinking about it from like a hitter's perspective, how great would that be if you knew this? If you know the strike zone, like the bottom, the top, the out, the in. I mean, you're failing on a good day 70% of the time.
Yeah.
In baseball. And that partially is because of human error. It's like you get rung up on a bad pitch or the first strike call is bad, and that kind of sets you back for the whole at bat.
Yeah.
It's a little different now because you know the strike zone. And now that pitcher is really just, he's got to beat you and you only. Because he's not beating the umpire, making it, they're minimizing those little mistakes where I can gain advantage off of you if I throw it a little off the plate. You might not be able to get to it, but he's given me that lower outside, and you're just getting beat down there and beat down there.
That's a good point.
I kind of like it. I don't know.
That's a good point. I'll give you that. I mean, I think the pitchers are good. They're throwing 100 pretty consistently in the MLB these days.
Like it's so hard.
It makes sense that I get where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know. Yeah, I don't watch a lot of sports in general, honestly.
It's good. Don't watch TV.
Yeah, I do watch TV, but most of it's Netflix. I'm trying to cut down a little bit. This conversation's made me, like I can be more cognizant of my screen time again, because I was for a period of time like really trying to cut that down, and then life happens and you kind of forget about what you're doing, and then I'm like, you need these reminders here and there. So,
and that's part of the reason that I don't do YouTube on my podcast, or I don't do like the video on my podcast, is because I just want people to hear the audio. Like I don't need you, necessarily watching my show all the time, and maybe sometimes at some point I'll probably retract this statement, and I'm going to be eating my words here, but there's something about just the conversation and listening to the conversation and building your own picture. But like nowadays, like the way to market your podcast is to clip things and put it on socials.
Yeah.
And I'm, doing kind of the opposite. I'm just recording an audio and not clipping anything and not posting anything. So numbers may be a little down, but we're on the up and up.
You're being different. You're doing
being
something
different. Got to separate yourself.
Which is cool, dude. Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Conversation. Is there anywhere you'd love people to go to find you, to connect with you, to Obviously, you got the podcast, the Bauer Hour. So, guys, make sure you go subscribe.
Bauer Hour, OUR.
OUR.
Yeah. You can follow me if you want. Maybe give one episode a listen if you don't like it. That's all right. Maybe give another one. I get all sorts of different people on, telling all sorts of different stories. Like Wojo came on I don't know if you're episode 20 or what, but it doesn't matter. But, all these different walks of life, and we just try and get a little bit deeper. Like I just recorded one on Sunday that I'm hoping to release on Tuesday, as long as, the stars align and everyone's okay with that. But it's going to be a really good episode. Really good episode. Some breaking news. So it'll be fun. So yeah, tune in. It's cool. Yeah. Sorry, like I said earlier, I kind of ate my words earlier and was just like, didn't really know where to go, and, fumbled around a little bit. And I kind of felt myself being like, gosh, I sound like a big douchebag right now. But I think we recovered.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping me. I'm so bad at interviews, Woj. Like, job interviews, man, horrible. Botch all of them. I mean, I feel like I suck at talking about myself. I get really nervous, and I feel like I want to be humble without being cocky, right? But you also want to be able to tell your story. And I think there's a really fine line between that, and I just haven't found that line. So it's something I'm working on. So I'm glad, like, this got me out of my comfort zone, being on your podcast, and I appreciate you having me on and kind of taking the risk on me. And, you're probably thinking, like, as a fellow podcaster, I'm just like great at doing this stuff, which, I'm thinking like, dang, I'm going to get interviewed. What's this going to be like? What's he going to ask me? How am I going to respond? How do I not sound like an asshole? And, you did a really good job of navigating the conversation and like bringing me to where I wanted to go. Like, if I fumbled, you were there to pick me up, and I appreciate that. And you did 73 push-ups, which is badass.
Well, I appreciate it, dude. No, you were great. You were really good. And this, like, when I started interviewing people, because I love this, I think this is one of my favorite things, interviewing people. And just like you, I mean, you get like some good stories, and I've just learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot today. You get a different perspective, right? Just about like different topics. I mean, we went to some deep topics today as well. We talked about some fun stuff and some, good lighthearted stuff. And then we talked about some deeper stuff. And so I get to hear your perspective on those things and kind of be like, oh, where can I be better? That's what I like about this podcasting stuff too, is like, it allows us to get both of our perspectives out to the audience and to people out there, but also like, we can learn a thing or two from each other too, which is cool. Like, that's, the essence of the Academy of Change is like transformation, growth, creating lasting change. And so like, if I can pick up a thing or two from everybody who comes on, like, I can get a little bit better too, and hopefully help and impact a little bit more people out there. And so I appreciate you, brother. And, we'll have to have you on again sometime down the road to continue helping you get your story out there and morph your
Absolutely. Yes. It was fun, dude. It was really fun. You're doing a good job, man. It's crazy how, like, as a podcast host, like, your job is to make people feel comfortable, and you do a really good job of that, and I appreciate it. So keep crushing it. I hope to see you in person soon.
Yeah.
Give you a big old bear hug.
I want to get to your fucking sauna, dude.
Yeah.
I want to get to your sauna.
You will. Before you head out to AZ, you got to come sweat. I'm going to nail down the details, like whether it's, sauna Saturdays or Sundays or Thursdays or Fridays or Wednesdays. I'm going to figure something out. But I want to make it kind of like a weekly or bi-weekly event where people just come, chill, sauna.
I love it. Yeah, I'm there. Let me know when you iron that stuff out, and we'll lock in on a day to come get a little sauna action. And that's one of my favorite things. Whenever I join a gym, it has to have a sauna. That's one of my prereqs. But thanks again, brother. You are the man. I appreciate you. Everybody out there, if you like this one, make sure you also like, subscribe, rate us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, drop in every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Central, and also share with some friends. We appreciate you. Thanks again, Bauer, for coming on. We'll be talking to you soon.
Love you all.